It's Friday. It's Friday. Got to get down on Friday. Fantasy football wrap-up is here. We're going to recap, talk about the upcoming games for Week 10, your 4 o'clock games on through the Monday night game. Just a few more games left to talk about.
Sure.
I'm your host, Blake Randall, with my co-host, Jesse Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, boy.
we are just, the weekend is just near.
Thank God.
It's almost that time. So let's just go on and get right into it. We're going to talk about the rest of the matchups. We're going to pick up where we left off on the Thursday episode. So we got Houston Texans at the LA Rams. The LA Rams put up a 50 on the New York Giants last week. Jared Goff, NFC Player of the Week. He's actually starting to get recognized. People used to call him a bust at the beginning of the season. I'm very biased. I had said, have patience with this man. He will eventually start to roll, and I think with Sean McVay at the helm, things are starting to roll.
You seem excited about the Rams for some reason.
Because it's been a while. It has been a while since I have been. You know, I couldn't tell you the last time at this point in the season when I've been excited to watch Rams football. I think the last time that I was excited this far into the season was when Sam Bradford was still quarterback, and it was his rookie year. Because we were almost made the playoffs that year.
What was that?
We went 2010. 10. I just remember Rams is the year the Seahawks went 7-9 and made the playoffs. It was when the West sucked. So it was Rams and Seahawks both went 7-9.
That was our Super Bowl year.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good year.
Yeah. Well, it almost could have been a decent year for the Rams, but, you know, that's normally our record, 7-9 or worse.
Yeah.
Until, you know, now, which I am saying, and I've been saying it, I said the Rams are going to make the playoffs. I think we're either going to win the division or get in as a wild card team. So I'm kind of steering away from talking about the matchups right now, but I just had to let that get out there.
Sure.
You know, it's great to be a Rams fan. I welcome all new fans to come in, join the bandwagon. I got the contracts that you need to sign to become a bandwagon fan. I mean, you know, if you want to become a bandwagon fan, you can jump on board with us. I mean, you know, the Packers, you know, ain't playing too hot right now. You know, Aaron Rodgers out for the year. There's no hope for y'all's team right now.
We'll see. I'll just pick a lottery team when it gets January. Because I know they're not in playoff contention. Actually, you know what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
Brett Hundley's going to win 3 games, and then Rodgers is going to come back and lead us to a Super Bowl victory.
Are you going to wake up from that dream? You going to wake up from that dream?
You got to have something to look forward to.
This ain't Madden. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get right to it. Houston coming into LA to play the Rams. Tom Savage, quarterback for the Texans.
Go and get that ass spanked.
See, I was really, really looking forward to this game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, with Deshaun and Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
That is the difference maker. That young cat is the difference maker.
He's a beast.
Literally,
he's a baller.
Like you said previously, he's been probably one of the funnest players to watch this season.
He's the only. As a Packers fan, it was funny because right when Rodgers kind of went down is right when he started. Well, he was really just starting to really turn heads, I think. So I would go to the bar, watch football, and Packers game would be on, but I'm looking over it and watching. What is Deshaun Watson doing now?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's fun to watch. The offense was built around him. Now they had to start all over, go back to this crappy dink and dunk. Let's run some crosses across the field.
It's the first half of the Week 1 game for them right now.
It sucks. Yeah, it's terrible. Tom Savage is so terrible. It's almost a crime that they have to go from Watson to Savage. And all the other injuries with that team, it sucks. I think the Houston Texans about to get their ass handed to them.
You want to hear a sad stat, though?
Oh, do I?
Ever since Savage has been with him being the quarterback, Houston's offense averages only 10.5 points per game. With Deshaun Watson, they average 34.7 points.
That's so bad. The funny thing is that of those 10 points he averages, You know that the only touchdown is probably DeAndre Hopkins on 19 targets.
Mm-hmm. Well,
in garbage time.
Yeah, so basically, with
it's
this,
so bad.
Yeah, with this Houston offense now, Tom Savage is never going to be considered a starting quarterback.
Don't start Savage for this matchup. Don't start Miller for this matchup. Don't start,
I would start. Look, here, I would start
Fuller.
Lamar Miller because he is going to be either your RB2 or your RB1 on your roster. The Rams are really not that great at run defense still.
Yeah, but he's the only one you got to start.
Yeah, but Darkwa had 71 yards He had the 71 yards last week against the Rams. But Miller, I would start. They're trying to use him now with Savage. They tried a little bit last week, but
I might flex him.
I would flex him at most, but if like I said though, if he's one of your top 2 running backs on your roster, he's going to start for you regardless. Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins, you're going to start him. You start superstars. Hopkins is a superstar, and Savage does look his way, which is good because a lot of people were worried about DeAndre Hopkins not fading out with Savage at quarterback.
Yeah.
But DeAndre Hopkins, and I quote, did say before the season started, "I want Tom Savage as my starting quarterback."
He did.
And now he's getting what he originally wanted.
I bet he would. I wonder if you asked him right now what he would say.
I'm gonna keep that comment to myself because I'm sure it would be a few curse words, is what it would be.
Yeah.
So Will Fuller sit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
they
Will
are
Fuller,
throwing him the ball down the field. It's just out of bounds.
They're trying.
It's out of bounds and down the field.
Like we've said,
doesn't help much.
Savage is not that good quarterback to throw the ball deep.
Right.
Will Fuller, you're going to sit, and I just think at this point, with Savage at quarterback, the production for Fuller is just gone. And you're not going to see those big play because Fuller was a top 5 receiver in those few games.
Going into redrafts next year,
Fuller will be.
You can get Fuller, and he's not far behind Hopkins. For our league, he's probably more valuable because of the big plays.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to have to pay that Hopkins price. So I'm looking at Fuller. I'm excited.
Looking ahead. I would say Will Fuller is going to be a top 6 round pick.
Oh, I think he's top. After what he showed with Watson on the field, if Watson starts the season, he'll probably be a top 3 round pick.
Maybe. It just depends. So. Knowing how
him and Hopkins
people draft smart. By the third round, like what I did this year. I had 1 receiver by the 3rd round.
Ooh.
So it just depends.
I don't even want to talk about my 3rd round pick this year.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Which one are you talking about?
Puke. It was Terrell Pryor.
Oh. Yeah.
It was horrible.
Ooh.
Drafted him as my number 1 with all that upside.
Well, you still got Hopkins.
But I got Hopkins on the turn in the 4th, so it kind of worked out. I ended up trading for Julio, so,
We'll see.
We'll see, right?
Julio's trying to get there. They're trying to get him
2
there.
good weeks here lately. Over 100 yards.
I scored on my first 3 picks, but anyways, all right. So, Ryan Griffith, you're going to sit. CJ Fedorowicz is scheduled to come back off the IR.
I started him just because Savage is going to look his way a lot,
and
that's like his favorite guy on the team, not named DeAndre Hopkins. So.
Yeah, and
sure.
Texans defense is suffering for a lot of injuries, and I'm not a fan of them. I wouldn't start the Texans defense. It's crazy to think how how they were looked at the beginning of the year, but then the injury bug just came in and ransacked
demolished them.
And what's crazy is Jared Goff per game only gets sacked 1.3 times a game. That's a big difference from what they were at last year. Because that Rams offense had no offensive line last year. Yeah. The pressure was there last year. This year, the offensive line and the improvements they've had is helping Jared Goff out. So to continue on to the Rams, Jared Goff is a must start this week. He's not gonna have the big game that he had last week, but I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up the same stats-wise, points-wise in fantasy. I don't know because in our league there's big play bonuses. A lot of leagues have big play bonuses. A lot of leagues just keep it standard points as is, which I think that just makes it boring in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because big play potential is fun to ruin somebody's day. I can account for that. I've been ruined by big plays before in the past. Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton. But anyways, so Jared Goff, you're going to start. I think he has a great matchup. Houston allows sixth most points to opposing quarterbacks. Todd Gurley, you are gonna start Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is a guy you're not gonna think twice about sitting.
Yeah, you start early, hands down.
Sammy Watkins had the big 67-yard touchdown last week.
If you're starting, you're just looking for a big play, but it's so up and down. I'm not riding a roller coaster personally, but
yeah, Sammy Watkins is a flex play. He's a flex play because he hasn't been that top receiver that they look at. Yeah. Robert Woods is that top receiver that they look at. Robert Woods is that receiver that you're going to want to start.
Targets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you start Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp is a low-end flex for me. I thought he would be the more productive receiver against the Giants, but I was proven wrong. He still had a decent game, 53 yards. But I think Robert Woods has just been the guy to go after, and he's available in a lot of leagues still. He's been playing pretty good the last few weeks, might I add that. So Cooper Kupp, look at him as a flex play at most. That's how I would look at him.
Yeah.
Robert Woods, his last few weeks. I mean,
3 receivers or PPR, you might look at him as a little bit more valuable, but
yeah. Let's see, and then Tyler Higbee. I wouldn't start Tyler Higbee. Houston's still pretty good against tight ends. They usually can help deter him, but I think there's so many weapons on this Rams offense right now that Higbee could be in for a decent game. I would say he's. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you're going to want to, if you're having a bye with tight ends, Higbee could be a start for you. He might be a guy that might get you 40 to 60 yards,
and maybe a touchdown.
Actually, it might be a touchdown and just like minimal yards, like 20 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. I think he could be that. Rams defense,
you start them. They're hot. They're great pass defense, and they're getting better against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to gel now. So.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're going against Savage and Miller. And
it should be a turnover. And the Rams cause turnovers. They disrupt. So I think it's going to be similar to last week, and they're going to cause a lot of turnovers. Unfortunately, I still think Hopkins still is the only productive player on that Texans offense. Moving on to the next game, the Dallas Cowboys, without Zeke Elliott, rolling into Atlanta. Dak Prescott. You start the man.
Must start.
Dak Prescott is going to be...
I don't care who's your quarterback on your team. You start Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's
been on fire.
He's been on fire, and I think with Zeke out, he's going to put more... Not put more pressure on him, but he's going to put more on his shoulders to carry.
Yeah.
And I think... And there's also... and you got to watch out for Dez Bryant, too, this week, because he does have the ankle injury, the knee and ankle injury, so they've been trying to watch out for him. And then Terrence Williams is a little bit banged up, but... out of the receivers, though, Terrence Williams is the least injured. So I would start Terrence Williams this week. He had a very productive game last week. Dez Bryant, you're going to have to watch his coverage, see if he practices on Friday.
His expectation is to walk through Friday and then play. He hasn't practiced yet with knee and ankle injuries, but he expects to play, which doesn't mean much about what the coaching staff expects.
Right. But I mean, in terms of game
plan,
I would look at Dez Bryant and say, I mean, he's a wide receiver too for me this week. I think Terrence Williams is starting to get the ball rolling, but and Cole Beasley, he's only a PPR play for me. That's where I would leave him at. Jason Witten, I would consider sitting Jason Witten this week. Atlanta's pretty good against tight ends, but Witten, it's just tough. He's just had he's not had many targets in the last few games. It's been kind of like a roller coaster ride for Jason Witten. So Jason Witten,
touchdown dependent. I actually think that Cole Beasley might get some added work whenever Zeke was out or kind of slow to get started. He came in and was kind of their extension of the run game.
Yeah.
So I like
Beasley. But with these Dallas running backs, this is going to be an interesting game though to see how the Dallas running backs play. How much does Morris carry? How much playing time does Darren McFadden get?
Yeah.
And basically, this will determine determine who gets the start the following week. I feel like.
Yeah.
So whoever produces more, because that's how I think Garrett works. They're going to say if Morris has a good game, they're going to roll with Morris. If McFadden has the better game, they're going to roll with McFadden. So
I'm interested.
McFadden, yeah, it's interesting to see.
Alfred's been good with his limited carries, so I expect him to seamlessly kind of transition into the number one. Now, he's not Zeke, and the Cowboys' offensive scheme has actually been a little bit more misdirection this year than it was last year, where it was just kind of more of a power scheme. But if they're running anything down the line or any kind of zone reads, Alfred Morris, that's what he ran in Washington. That's his best. That's his forte, basically. So I think he steps in and has some productive games as the early down back and the goal line back.
Basically behind that offensive line, you're going to want to start whoever the running back is.
Whoever the starter is, you start him. Whoever's getting the goal line carries, that's who you want in your lineup for Dallas.
Yeah.
Because when they get to the goal line, they say, let's run the ball and score.
Mm-hmm. Atlanta Falcons players, Matt Ryan. I like Matt Ryan's matchup this week.
I only start Matt Ryan if Julio Jones starts and plays.
I think he'll play.
I think Dallas' defense is wildly underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about Rob Marinelli on a podcast last week. He knows how to coach. The man can coach some defense. Mm-hmm. The man they get the players that fit the scheme too. He has so many disruptive people in the front seven. All-world linebacker Sean Lee is everywhere. Their safety, Byron Jones, is playing enough to get the job done on the back end, and their corners has been getting the job done. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not a great defense. They're not one you're going to lean on to win you a game, to win you a Super Bowl. But when the offense moves as efficiently as Dallas's offense moves, give credit to their offensive line and Dak and Zeke. Their defense plays a huge role in this game. I think they're if Matt Ryan and this Atlanta-led offense is skittish at all, Dallas's defense takes over this game, hands down.
Yeah, but I like Matt Ryan at home this game. I think. I mean, he hasn't been spectacular this season. He's only thrown for 300 yards twice,
right?
And he's only had a few games out of the 8 games. I think 3 games he's only thrown multiple touchdowns out of the 8 that he's played.
Yeah, that's not good.
Which is, I'm telling you, it just shows how much Shanahan was needed on this team.
Yeah,
it just hurts them. I like Devontae Freeman, but he's a RB2.
He's had so many injuries lately.
It's just
head, neck, knee injuries.
He's banged up.
I
mean, he's a RB2 at most for me. Flex play. I'm not going to put him in my flex. It's Freeman.
He practiced in full on Thursday, so.
Mm-hmm. And then Tevin Coleman, I would sit. I just don't think the volume's there as much as it used to be for Tevin Coleman. They play him?
Yeah.
But I would sit him. Julio Jones, if he ends up playing, which I think he's going to end up playing, you're going to start Julio Jones. That's not even a question. I do like Mohamed Sanu. He has been a target machine and a catch machine for Atlanta. He's been one of their more productive receivers.
I think Jones opens up their whole offense. So if he plays, I think him and Sanu both are very valuable. But if he doesn't, I drop them all down. Mm-hmm. Julio's been good at. God, he had those double moves last week when he was wide open. They've been having a concerted effort, not only schematically, but just target-wise, trying to get him the ball and get him involved. But I think he's what makes their offense go, especially with a struggling Matt Ryan and a struggling run game. So I just reiterate, if Jones plays, you start Ryan, you start Sanu. If he doesn't, I don't touch anybody on the team.
Yeah,
personally.
Austin Hooper, the tight end for me, I would say he's a stream option at most. I don't know if I'd really consider him.
Yeah.
But if this is one of those weeks again, I'm just going to keep talking about it almost with every lower end tight end. If you're needing a tight end for a bye, consider Hooper, but he wouldn't be my first option.
Hooper, there's been a few weeks where people have asked about Hooper versus Jared Cook or Hooper versus somebody else, and I've been straying toward Hooper, but he's let me down so many times that I think I don't trust Hooper anymore. I'll move on.
I just don't think the volume's there like it was at the beginning of the season.
That one big play early in the season just carried him so far.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Falcons defense sit. I wouldn't consider the Falcons' defense.
No, Dak's on fire. The offensive line is just going to pound the ball, and it's not a recipe you want for your fantasy defense.
Right. Okay, next game.
Yep. By the way, I think also Dallas wins by.
Oh yeah, Dallas will win. I'm going to give Dallas 17-point victory.
I was going to say 14.
A difference of margin of points. Next game, this might be the worst game of the week. It could be a different game.
I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, which is funny.
All right, well, let's New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers.
There's not a lot of defense in this game. Darkwell was my start of the week, so for running backs, I like him here in this matchup with San Francisco. I think he gets a touchdown and 100 yards, at least. But
so you're saying he's going to get the 100-yard mark?
Back and forth. I think so.
Okay.
I think they just keep giving him the ball. I don't see the Giants either getting a huge lead or shutting him down either. I mean, I don't think the San Francisco 49ers get a huge lead or end up shutting down Darkwa. So
49ers defense is just atrocious.
It's trash.
I would take the Cleveland Browns defense over the 49ers.
Yeah. And Bowman was even like, hey, trade me, please. Tired of this shit. So he was their only good run defender, really. I mean, their front four is good, but then banged up and young,
banged up,
and
injured, or they just suck.
And once you pass that, it's a prairie.
Yeah, Eli Manning with Eli Manning, I wouldn't start him. I think Eli Manning at this point of this season, I would not consider starting him. Yeah. It's like the Ben Roethlisberger effect. If he plays bad, his skill players around him could still have a good game, but Eli is going to have one of those games, and I don't think it's going to be a stellar game. Sterling Shepard, I would start. He is the only wide receiver on that team that is going to do anything. He's worth starting. I would probably say he's a wide receiver 2 this week, and then I would say Evan Ingram, tight end, must start. You're going to start Evan Ingram every week. The volume's there, the targets are there. He catches the ball, he gets a touchdown.
I'm going to go maybe a little bit different direction. I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, just because of the fact that there isn't a lot of defense involved. I think Ingram's a great start, Shepard's a great start, Doc was a great start. I even think Roger Lewis could be a guy in a pinch that could get it done for you, because San Francisco's best pass defender is their safety. Tart, and he's been out for a few weeks injured. So they don't really have anything that they don't have any resistance, and their quarterback's not very good either, and their offensive attack isn't. So I think the Giants just kind of have a field day, actually. I'd start Eli Manning. I think this might be, I don't know, I kind of feel like when these veteran quarterbacks start to, when their coaches start asking more of them and saying, well, why don't we give this rookie a chance to show what he's got, and the fans are all, starting to kind of turn. I want to see what Eli does, and I think he shows up big for you.
I think Eli Manning just doesn't do anything. I feel like I just feel like Eli, the opportunity for this game, the matchups there, the opportunities there. I just feel like Eli Manning's just gonna do that, typical let you down type of thing again.
200 yards,
you're
touchdown,
you're gonna look,
3 picks.
You're gonna look at it and like, okay, I'm juicing for this matchup. It's a great matchup, but then I still think Eli Manning's gonna let you down. Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram and Darkwa should produce in this game. I feel like they'll, just because they don't have to worry about throwing the football. That's why I think they'll produce. Giants defense, I would consider streaming them.
Yeah.
This week they've been somewhat of a letdown.
Yeah.
But the injuries are kind of getting them too a little bit.
Now, the more I talk, the more I say high-scoring game. Can I just change that to high-scoring game for the Giants? Because San Francisco's offense is awful, and I don't see them putting up a ton of points.
Over/under for the Giants scoring. Do you think they break 30?
Altogether?
Yeah. Oh, no, just the Giants.
Just the Giants? Yes.
Okay.
The number in my head I was thinking was like 31-10.
Okay.
So.
49ers, limited players to look at or consider as a fantasy option. C.J. Beathard.
No.
Exactly. Carlos Hyde, you're going to start.
I don't know. If you have a better option, you go there, I think.
Hyde is at that point where it's this time of the season where he's just going to let you down.
Or get hurt. He's almost due for an injury, which I hate to say, but historically speaking, that's what has been his forte. I don't start Carlos Hyde. Maybe you just randomly start one of these receivers is going to produce something. Who knows who it's going to be?
Yeah.
And the rest of them you sit.
Yeah, I mean, but basically, there's only a few guys that are worth even considering.
Right.
I mean, with Pierre Garçon out, so there's a lot of target share available, but Marquise Goodwin's now the number one receiver.
Yeah.
And he was actually getting good plays as the wide receiver too on that team. But now that he's the top receiver on that team, I just don't think that's going to happen like you would expect. I honestly think San Francisco is going to go 0-16. I think they're that bad of a team.
Yeah.
I think Cleveland beats them if they ever play, which they don't play this year. But Cleveland can still go 0-16 too.
Yeah.
They're both pretty bad.
Giants light them up.
Giants get their second win of the season. The team beat Denver with nobody, but Denver's trash now too. Offensively,
they turned the tide for Denver. They opened the door for them to be terrible. So.
All right.
Go Giants.
Moving on to the Sunday night game. Speaking of Denver, we'll start with the Broncos and talk about them. Brock Osweiler is the starting quarterback again. They decided that because he didn't have as many turnovers as other quarterbacks have on that team. So,
rock to rock.
So usually when you're playing against, for the majority of this season, when you're playing against the New England Patriots, you are like, everybody's pretty much a must start because the Patriots defense has been trash. But in the last couple of weeks, ever since that matchup against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football, the Patriots defense has taken a turn for the better. Mm-hmm. They've been playing a little more aggressive. They've been just playing better overall football on the defensive side.
They've had better matchups too, and I think that trend continues because the Broncos' offense looks atrocious. It is. I like getting Sanders back because he does a good job stretching the field.
He helps Thomas out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, not much, but
I think it gives everybody a little bit of a bump. Even helps C.J. Anderson out, kind of opening up some run lanes because they have to commit an extra defender in case Sanders takes off on them. But for the Broncos,
Brock Osweiler.
Don't start Osweiler.
Mm-hmm. C.J. Anderson?
Because New England.
I just don't. He's been falling off the last few weeks, and he just has not been playing good like he has. I just think he just doesn't get, like, when they get down, they just stop giving him the ball. Like, his carries go down.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say C.J. Anderson. You can start him as RB2.
I'm gonna give if I give him anything, flex play at most for me.
Because the more I think about this matchup, I think that the only person that I'm wanting to stop for the Patriots is probably Cooks out wide, which their receivers, their one of their corners can do that, and then you got to focus on Gronk. Besides that, you're not really scared of any of their backs, and Denver has one of the most talented linebacker groups in the game anyway. So,
right.
And they have the number one run defense. They can stop the run, get out to Tom Brady, and shut down.
Yeah, the defense is still there.
Options. The Patriots' offense has really kind of struggled. For a Tom Brady unit, they haven't been a dominating offense like they have been in the past.
Mm-mm.
Like Denver's defense actually.
I think it just shows you how important Julian Edelman
Yeah.
is to that team, just because he just helps make that much of a difference to help spread the ball around.
And having Hogan out, he's been the receiver.
So basically, Philip Dorsett gets a boost in terms of share on that offense.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Cooks on one side of the ball, Dorsett as the other outside receiver, and then Danny Amendola is going to be on the inside.
Yeah.
And then you got Gronk right there too. So, I mean, the Patriots still have their talent there. I think there's enough talent there for the Patriots to win this game easily. The Broncos, though, like with Demaryius Thomas, I feel like it's hard to, to me, it's really at this point, it's hard to want to start him.
I've kind of completely moved on from DT, dating back to last year. He's a guy I just don't even want to draft. I don't want to start. I don't want to play in any formats at any point in time.
Mm-mm.
Sanders, I think, is more attractive because he's electric with the ball and he's a deep threat. C.J. Anderson, I think.
I just don't think they use Demaryius Thomas right at all.
No, they don't. I don't think so.
At this point anymore. Like they still use him like Peyton Manning's still the quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and then, you can't. Demaryius Thomas is one of those guys, because I know Demaryius Thomas was good when Peyton Manning was there, but, I still go back to the year with Tim Tebow, and he actually had a decent season.
And last time this matchup happened, Brock Osweiler
beat the Patriots. And C.J. Anderson went off that game.
He did.
But there's no more Gary Kubiak.
That's true, but I think this game stays tight enough for them to keep feeding C.J. Anderson the ball. And he's been
hopefully
of the best running backs in the league at forcing missed tackles and just being productive.
Yeah. Just hopefully,
all around.
So hopefully Brock Osweiler, can not lose it mentally. Because that tends to happen like he did last year with Houston and just loses all confidence. I don't think he's lost his confidence yet. I think he's actually, he's excited to be back in Denver because he should have never left Denver in the first place. Yeah. So, New England, you're going to start Tom. I think you're going to start Tom Brady.
Brady.
You have to start Tom Brady.
Because his name's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT.
But the running backs for New England, Dion Lewis, James White, Rex Burkhead, and then Gillespie.
Gillespie got double-digit carries last week as well. So it's hard. I think you start one of the pass-catching running backs like James White or maybe
James White's like a flex option for me. In standard leagues, like in standard leagues, James White's a flex option no matter what. But it's like Gillespie. I know you wanted to touch on it too, with how LeGarrette Blount played. This is relating to the Martellus Bennett acquisition.
All right, I like that. Last year when New England Patriots got on the field, they had 5 offensive linemen, and they put Gronk on the line, and then they put Martellus Bennett on the line. And that's basically like having 7 offensive tackles. 7 offensive linemen, because those 2 tight ends are gargantuan. And they are they run block just as well as a tackle. So maybe this is where you keep an eye on Gillespie and see how he performs. Maybe not even in this game, but just kind of to see if they're giving him the ball and if they're running more effectively.
To me, though, I wouldn't start Gillespie though. I think his trend of poor performance, because his yards per carry is not all that special. It's 3.1 yards per carry.
Right.
I wouldn't consider him. It's just tough because that New England's always sketch with that backfield there. And then Brandon Cooks, start him. Mm-hmm. Flex play at worst, but I would start Brandon Cooks.
I start him. Danny
Amendola is a PPR player. I would consider him a flex play in PPR. I wouldn't really want to consider starting him at all in standard formats. Chris Hogan's out. He's not going to play. Right. Rob Gronkowski, you will start. You start Rob Gronkowski.
Of course.
This one, though, do you consider the Patriots' defense against this Broncos offense? Or do you just still pass on the Patriots' defense?
I think they're a stream this week. I don't know that I go pick them up looking for this matchup, but if you need a defense, stream the Patriots' defense if they're out there, because the Broncos have been bad.
Yeah.
Even if this game ends up in Denver's favor, it's the only way they can do that if it's a low-scoring game.
Yeah. The last 3 games the Patriots have played, their defense has been better. 13 points week 6 against the Jets, 8 points against Atlanta, and then 12 points against the Chargers before the bye. So, I just think against Denver is not all that special against defenses. They do Denver defenses score the second most points against Denver in the league right now. So Denver is not a pretty play in terms of offensively. But it's just it's primetime football. Then Tom Brady never usually lets down in primetime football. Neither is Gronk. I think Gronk's going to have a good game.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be the top tight end this week.
Those Bill Belichick-led defenses, even they've been struggling. I'm just going to stick with their streamable option. Mm-hmm. I don't think you go looking for them because of the matchup, unless you've ever a defense on a bye and you need a streamable option. Go get them.
All right, and then moving on to our last game, Monday Night Football. Miami Dolphins at the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh, I went and picked up Carolina's defense for this game. I got a lot of.
Didn't you have them as your start of the week?
I did.
In terms of defense, you had them as your start of the week.
Oh, I do. I think Miami's Dolphins go back to that Ravens game a little bit, and they play a tough defense on the road. And Panthers defense ain't no joke.
Mm-mm.
They're gonna come and they're gonna hit you in the mouth. Dolphins' offensive line hasn't been great.
Mm-hmm.
Those two little backs can help you, but this is gonna be a tell-all game.
Like Jay Cutler did have this.
They ain't
best
playing
game.
no Raiders defense.
Yeah, Cutler had his best game of the season last week, but
against the bottom 3 defense.
All right, it's not going to happen this week.
No,
at all.
No.
So you're going to sit Cutler.
I expect Cutler to give the ball to the Panthers twice, and I expect them to.
Same old Jay Cutler.
Yeah. Rears his ugly head.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch Jay Cutler this week.
No.
It's just not a good matchup at all.
No.
Dolphins running backs. I don't like them this week.
Not with Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly out there patrolling.
Yeah, they're both must-sit running backs this week. Devontae Parker.
Shaq Lawson. Shaq Thompson.
Yeah. Devontae Parker is a flex play at most for me.
He's probably going to get the most volumes. Most volume.
Yeah.
Landry got some. He had some pretty good target share last week and got the touchdown, but
he's just not consistent enough.
Carolina's defense, their only weak spot has been against the flex. So if you decide to start anyone, I think you either do it on Parker with the volume or you do it with Landry because of the matchup from the slot.
And
That's it.
And Kenny Stills is like a big boomer bust.
I say Stills. I don't trust
I would sit Stills. And then Dolphins defense, I wouldn't touch either.
No.
This week.
No.
And moving on to the Carolina side of the ball, Cam Newton. I will start Cam Newton.
I start Cam Newton. He is my starter in my money league. Watson got hurt, and somehow he was on the waiver wire, so I picked him up, and I'm really excited about having Cam Newton.
He was dropped by everyone's favorite, Derek Dinkoff.
Derek Dinkoff, thanks, Derek.
Dropping everybody on his team.
Oh, but you know who dropped him before Derek?
You.
Me.
Yeah, because you got Watson.
I just boomeranged him, that's all.
So
just let him go and took a while for him to come back.
In my opinion, for the Carolina running backs this week, I wouldn't start any Carolina running backs.
I wouldn't start Stewart.
I'm not a fan.
I would actually start McCaffrey. There was a concerted effort to get him the ball. Mm-hmm. He had a ton more carries. He had a ton more targets.
He's been getting the ball a lot more the last few weeks.
Basically, it was read option between him and Cam, and they sprinkled in Stewart as kind of a diversion, I feel like. And McCaffrey was the man they were trying to get the ball to, and he produced. Mm-hmm. So I think they keep that formula. I think they kind of stretch the field a little bit more against Miami because Miami's run defense has been better.
Yeah.
Then their run defense is their strong suit, but
that's basically the only good thing on their defense.
Yeah.
If they're going to try to run the ball more with McCaffrey, I'm not going to like the matchup. But with how they use McCaffrey a lot in the passing game too, he's a flex play for me. He's not an RB1 or RB2 at all by any means this week. Two is a ceiling for me.
I put him in a 2 slot, I think.
Jonathan Stewart, I'm not going to touch. You sit him. Don't even consider playing him. Devin Funchess, the volume picked up for him now that he's the number 1 receiver for Carolina. I start Devin Funchess.
I start him.
I like Devin Funchess. Ed Dixon, he just powdered out pretty much.
I could do better.
Yeah, and then Panthers defense.
With that whole tight end position with the Panthers, you're just waiting on Greg Olsen to come back and take over.
Yeah, and it's like a couple weeks?
Yeah, might be. Yeah,
might be soon. But
I think last week is when he said it was going to be 2 weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely either next week or the week after. It's very soon.
But
so go ahead and check and see if Olsen's out there and pick him up if you can get him.
I would be surprised if he's out there.
I would be too.
I know one of the guy in our league that has him has held on to Greg Olsen the whole time.
Right.
He hasn't dropped him once. He will hold on to those players until they get officially announced out the rest of the season because he held Andrew Luck. He drafted Andrew Luck and held on to Andrew Luck, and then dropped him finally once they announced him on the waiver or for the injured reserve.
And really, Olsen is out because of a broken metatarsal. He broke his little toe.
He'll be back.
He's going to come back and be as productive as he. I expect him to come back and be Greg Olsen. So he's expected back week 12 against the Jets. He said his practice workload has been increasing every week and took a big jump this week. He looks like he'll be ready to come back week 12 against the Jets for a good warm-up game right before the playoffs hit. So, yeah. And then Panthers defense, obviously my must start of the week for defenses. I start them. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, I like how the Panthers defense, the matchup is this week. I just think Jay Cutler on the road goes back to his old ways. He's not going to put up the big performance that he had at all. Yeah, very stingy defense. So, yeah. But, so what's the game that has you the most excited for this weekend? What game are you looking forward to the most this weekend? Is it your Packers and Bears just because of the rivalry? Is it the Rams and Texans? Actually, I'm hyped for that game regardless. But, I mean, I would have been more hyped if Watson was playing because that, in my opinion, it could be a potential future Super Bowl matchup.
I think all the hype around the Cowboys game has me excited just to see what the share of carries are going to be. So Cowboys and Falcons is a good one. It's an NFC, playoff type of team showing down. I'm excited about that. And Saints and Bills intrigue me. I'm excited for those games.
Yeah,
but I want to see what happens.
I do like the Cowboys-Falcons matchup. That should be a fun one. Also, I do like Vikings-Redskins.
There's a lot of good football.
I mean, there is this week. The one I think that's going to be the interesting to watch for me is the McCown train. Jets and the Buccaneers, because I just want to see how good the Jets perform. They were the team that was supposed to tank this season. They were supposed to tank.
Yeah, we've won.
Because they didn't try to get any wide receivers. They didn't try to get any good quarterbacks. And they have been playing the opposite way of they've been supposed to play. They were supposed to be losing every game, and they have not been losing every game. The Jets are not the real deal by any means. They're 4-5, but I don't think anybody expected them to have 4 wins at all this season. I think at this point of the season, I think they were projected to probably.
Oh yeah, if you went back to week 1 and 2, people were already talking about who they're going to get with the first overall pick.
And that's not going to happen at all.
No, not at all.
They have ruined those chances, but I think that'll be.
Everyone forgot that the Browns were still a team.
I still think the Jets, just jumping ahead to the NFL draft next year, depending on where they end up in the draft in the first round, I think Saquon Barkley is their guy because they do need. I think they're going to need a running back at this point. So. And I will like to draft him next year in fantasy football because I like the rookie running backs. And I think that team is better than what people are going to give them out for. I think they're going to have a decent draft. So, but that's jumping really far ahead right now. But in terms of games this weekend, I like to see how the Jets play against the Buccaneers. And then I like to see the Vikings-Redskins game because I'm curious to see, this is more of a how will Kirk Cousins perform after the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. Especially, and it's a tough matchup too.
Hard defense, but he's at home.
Yeah, he's at home. Tough defense. Kirk Cousins has played in other games. He has played as a top 5 fantasy quarterback in the first in the middle of those 8 games. He had a great stretch, and he plays with the same guys. It's and most of the guys ain't even producing. Terrell Pryor's not producing. Crowder's not producing. Doxson's just kind of kicking it into gear. It's been the Chris Thompson show, and then Vernon Davis has been sprinkled in there too. So we'll see. I mean, we got a fun week ahead. A lot of fantasy teams. Well, I'm wondering how fantasy team seasons are right now. There's people that have clinched the playoff spot already.
Say it's getting close to that spot where you clinch.
Because usually
almost clinch playoff spots, right?
Yeah, because usually, of course, and I'm going to change this up next year. We need to. We have I know with our close friends, we have a 10-team league that we're in, and we let I don't know why we do this now. We let our top 8 teams in, which that's going to change. Yeah, it makes it exciting because there's for the bottom 4 teams, there's such a close race.
Yeah.
But this year, there's a big difference, a big gap between the top 5 teams and then the bottom other 5.
So we have 3 7-2 teams and 3 2-7 teams. So it's almost to that point in the season where.
Yeah, because when you
can almost see who's going to be in the losers bracket.
Yeah, because once you hit in our league right now, when you get that 7th win, you clinch your playoff spot. Your playoff spot is certified. Is there. So after last year, I needed that 7th win, and I beat my favorite opponent to beat Derek Dinkoff. So best of luck to everybody the rest of the way. Hopefully you make your playoff spots. I'm looking forward to this weekend. Leonard Fournette's making his return after not missing meetings this week. So hopefully he doesn't mess up for you, because that was a crazy Sunday morning mix up for a lot of people, I'm sure. And hopefully he didn't cost you your matchup. I was lucky enough with my team playing and having a poor performance this week that I still was able to get by because my opponent had that much worse of a performance with his players. So this is a wrap for the Fantasy Football Wrap-Up.
Wrap it up.
Have a great weekend, and see you all next week.